thinking about buying that plane ticket to your dream location, but can you afford to travel? Today, I'm going to be showing you how you can answer that question through the dreaded budget. In this series, I'm sharing exactly what I do to be able to afford travel. In 3 years, I've gone to over 50 cities in 15 countries, graduated college debt-free, and saved over half my income as a normal full-time working professional. This episode, I'll cover that word that makes everyone cringe: budgeting. Managing your money basically comes down to 3 things. First, how much you make. Second, how much you spend. And third, how much you save. Basically, if you want to do well financially, you need to live below your means, aka spend less money than you make. Okay, that's great. It's not rocket science, but if it were really that simple, then why are so many people still living in debt or living paycheck to paycheck? In my last video, we talked about how it's not because of what you know. It's about your mindset and diligence to live below your means. I'm gonna have a suggested video in the top right corner, so click that if you haven't watched that already. I feel like it's a similar thing with budgeting. Everyone's heard of it, they know they should do it, but at the same time, they don't really know what it is, and they don't feel like doing it because it just sounds gross. So what is budgeting exactly? If we go back to our personal finance success formula of first, how much you make, how much you spend, and how much you save, budgeting is focusing on organizing your expenses, how much you spend and how much you save. If you do this well, you'll feel like you have control over your money and to be able to know whether you can afford things like travel. This is how a lot of people manage their money and what control doesn't look like. They get a paycheck in, it's later taken out by all these bills. They have to pay for like rent, taxes, food, insurance, debt, fun stuff, etc. Soon enough, they don't have any money left, and they're just waiting until the next paycheck rolls around, and the cycle goes on and on. Someone in this situation might seem fine when things are going well, but the problem is that when something happens to you, you lose your job, you get sick, or your car breaks down, you don't have any money left to save yourself from this situation because you don't have any money, period. What's sad is that you're trying to rely on your job to get by. That means you won't be able to retire because you haven't saved money for it. 1 in 3 Americans don't retire. Is that what you want? So how do you know that you're saving enough so that not only will you have enough money to cover your emergencies, but you can also afford other financial goals like retiring, traveling, or buying a home? It's through keeping track of your money through budgeting. So this is a part of the video where we're going to get a little technical and you might cringe a little. But before you run away, I want to show you a super simple spreadsheet that I made that you can download in the description below. According to a financial advisor in Seattle, Alyssa Jarman, those who plan save 3 times more than those who don't. Pretty crazy. So let's get started. Let's bring up the spreadsheet together. So first you want to type in your pre-tax income. Online it says that the average graduate from college makes about $50,390 a year. And so to make things simple, let's just turn that into $50,000. And as you can see, the spreadsheet does all the rest of the math for you. One of the important things to notice is the difference between your pre-tax and your post-tax income. So here I have a formula that kind of estimates your post-tax income, and as you can see, just through taxes alone, you're out about 1/5 of your total income. And then from here, there are formulas that calculate the percent of allocation you have for each category based off of these recommended percentages by a lot of financial experts. For example, you can see within housing, they recommend at least 25% of your income on housing. Per month, that means you're spending around $817. That's really sobering when you think about it. I know in college in Austin, a lot of people spent more than that amount on their rent, and they were going through school and they had student debt. However, they were spending more than they should on housing than someone who was making $50,000 a year. In addition, for food, for example, college students eat out all the time, And that really adds up. Based off of a $50,000 annual income, you should really only be spending about $11 on food per day, which is really easily blown over once you start eating out. I think these results are just really sobering because at first when you get an offer that says that you get $50,000, that sounds like a lot of money, right? However, once it's broken down like this, in reality it's a lot more sobering. So can you afford to travel? The answer is in the budget. You can see here that overall you want to be saving about 20% of your income. You want to be spending about 60% of your total income on necessities and 20% on fun stuff. So if you're spending half of your fun stuff on travel, you're spending about $3,924. And so monthly that means you're spending about $327. So let's go over the bold claim that I made earlier in the video, saying that I travel once every 3 weeks, I graduated college debt-free, and I'm also saving over half my income. Looking at these numbers, how is that even possible? The thing is, as long as you're saving 20% or more of your income, then I think all of these other percentages are just up to your discretion on how you want to spend things. So for example, I choose to be really cheap on pretty much all my necessities. So my housing, I pay $600 a month living in this house with 13 other people, and I share a room. Those are just the sacrifices that you have to make when you want to both travel often, which costs a lot of money, and also be able to retire early. And so I'm also really cheap on food. My friends will always make fun of me for this, but I actually go at work, there's this one free food building, well that's what I call it, because they always have all these conferences and there's all this leftover food that they're going to throw away. So what do? I just go there and pick it up, and that's my meals for the day. So basically I spend nothing on food. And so basically people know me as like the cheapest guy in the world, but that's sort of the sacrifice that you have to make and you have to keep in mind when you want to travel often and also retire early. You just have to make those frugal decisions for yourself. Now that we have our budget set up, how do we keep track and make sure that we're actually following our budget? One of my favorite tools is an app called Mint. I'm not sponsored, I just really like the product. You can either access it on your desktop or on your phone through a mobile app. After you connect all your financial accounts, you can get tons of information on your financial health. On the left, you can see all the different accounts that you have and the balance that's in each account. Additionally, you can see the finances on a higher level with all of your assets, debts, and net worth. These numbers are really important to see what your overall financial health is. For example, you want to track your net worth to make sure that, first of all, it's positive, so that it shows that you have money, which is good, and second of all, that it's going up, so that you know that you're accumulating wealth over time so that you can eventually retire. Additionally, you can see all the transactions that you have from each account. So every time you use like a credit card, you buy something online, it automatically puts it into this kind of spreadsheet looking thing, and then it categorizes it also. And sometimes it's not 100% accurate, but you can change the categories so that you're making sure that it's tracking well. But what's really powerful, especially for seeing whether your budgets are on target or not, is in this Trends tab. So let's click on that. And then from here, you can see basically how much you're spending in every single category. So Mint is really awesome because it automatically categorizes all of your different transactions that you have, and then it creates really cool graphs like this. So from here, we can do things like, oh, let's look at how much I spent this past month on stuff. So I spent $1,447 on auto and transport. I paid for 6 months of car insurance, so it's quite a lot of money. And then you can scroll through and get a summary of where you spent all of your money. So this month I spent $2,146. Now, obviously my budget does not reflect 67% of my spending on auto and transport. I think that's the thing about budgeting. You don't really have to track on a month-by-month basis. I think it's more important to see if your budgets are on track in the long term. So for example, let's do in the last 12 months. I think this is a lot more realistic here. So I spent about $6,000 on my home, $4,762 on travel. As expected, I travel quite a bit, so that number is going to be pretty high. And then, yeah, you can see all these other numbers here. So in total, I spent about $27,000 on all of my different expenses, which is not too bad. It's not too far off from my targets. And so it's important to definitely track and monitor your budgets to make sure that you're on target. However, at the same time, you don't have to be constantly checking Mint unless you're a nerd like me. But just make sure that overall you're hitting your financial goals, and so that you can do what you want with your money and have control over it. So there you have it. These are exactly the methods that I use to travel often while saving money. This starts with knowing the simple formula for wealth: making money, spending below your means, and saving more than 20% of your income. To help you keep track of this, you can use the recommended budget percentages in the Excel sheet in the description, and you can use Mint to help you keep track of your goals. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below and I'll answer. Now that you have money set aside in your savings, what should you do with it? I'm going to be covering that in next time's video. Subscribe and stay tuned for more.